Good afternoon. This is Newswatch with Cheryl Peterson and Kevin Chandler. The Senate agreed early this morning on an emergency spending bill. It includes the additional $3.3 billion budget cut that President Reagan wants. Congressional negotiations now have to work out a compromise bill between the Senate and the House to keep the government running. Reagan has threatened to veto any bill that exceeds his budget limits.
President Reagan's job ratings declined this month. A new Associated Press NBC poll found that 35% of those surveyed thought that Reagan was doing an excellent job. That's down from 39% last month. Overall, 46% said they like the way Reagan is handling the presidency. That's the worst he's ever done. The same poll found that most Americans who know about the David Stockman controversy think he should keep his job. 60% think Stockman should remain. 45% think Stockman's criticism of Reagan's economic programs make no difference in the way he feels about it.
A high-ranking Soviet official is skeptical about President Reagan's call for nuclear weapon reduction in Europe. Central Committee member Vadim Zagladin says Reagan's proposal will make upcoming U.S.-Soviet negotiations more difficult. However, Zagladin also adds that, quote, if in fact Reagan wants to be a peacemaker, then we can welcome this as a turn for the better. Zagladin remarks were more moderate than the criticism by the Soviet media.
In Poland, the government is withdrawing the military units being used to distribute food and supplies to towns and villages. But they said the units could be sent back if they're needed. Meanwhile, Polish labor leader Lech Walesa today appealed to the world for emergency food for Poland. He said the aid will be needed in the upcoming winter months. 7 teenage boys have been found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in the drowning of 2 youths from a rival high school. They were drowned this past summer when their car plunged into a lake in Berkshire Hills of Massachusetts. Each of the defendants faces up to 20 years in prison on each of the involuntary manslaughter counts.
An unusual sentence from Chicago. A year of probation and an order not to climb buildings in Cook County anymore. That's what stuntman climber Dan Goodman received for his recent John Hancock building climbing feat. The judge on the case says Goodwin still may be liable for damage to the 100-story building. Goodwin scaled the building last week in his Spider-Man costume despite an order from authorities not to do it. Goodwin had previously scaled Chicago's Sears Tower. 2 men from Minneapolis are among 8 who have been indicted on federal drug charges in South Carolina. The indictment names William H. Thompson and Bob J. Roach, both of Minneapolis and both 35 years old. They, along with 6 others, were caught on a boat off the coast of South Carolina near Charleston. They had 9,600 pounds of hashish worth $50 million. Authorities call this the 3rd largest hashish bust in this country's history.
An Itasca County grand jury indicted Audie Fox on charges of first-degree murder. Fox is accused of killing Deputy Sheriff Robert Lawson. Lawson and other law officials had gone to a Swan Lake cabin where Fox was holding 2 of his children hostage. Fox was arrested after holding off the officers for several hours. The 27-year-old Fox was also indicted on attempted first-degree murder of his wife Pamela. The couple were separated. Minnesota lawmakers will meet for a special session with Governor Al Quie on December 1st to discuss the state's budget problem. Quie will announce his budget plan next Tuesday. Minnesota faces an unprecedented $768 million deficit for the next 2 years. A special session will meet no longer than December 18th. The regular session begins on January 12th.
Governor Al Quie is flying to Washington today for a 30-minute chat with President Reagan. Quie will meet with presidential assistant Rich Williamson prior to the 3 o'clock meeting. Governors Lee Dreyfus of Wisconsin, James Thompson of Illinois, and William Milliken of Michigan, along with Quie, will discuss their state's financial problems with Reagan. Quie returns to the Twin Cities tonight. The roof of the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome sagged and then collapsed last night. A defective fabric roof panel and the weight of Wednesday's 10-inch snowfall are blamed for the collapse. According to a stadium official, the panel ripped because of the pressure from the snow. Air escaped and deflated the dome. Stadium workers were trying to patch the rip last night. The dome was inflated at a ceremony October 2nd. The stadium is scheduled to open next spring. It seems the dome has been in the news ever since it was inflated. One controversy surrounding the Metrodome is whether the University of Minnesota Gophers should play there instead of at Memorial Stadium at the university campus. Newswatch reporter Cindy Winter spent some time investigating the controversy earlier this week.
Like it or not, downtown Minneapolis is now the home of the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. The dome was inflated about 6 weeks ago, but the controversy over whether the Gophers should play there began long before that. I chatted with students on campus today to find out how they feel about the Gophers playing at the Metrodome.
I would have to say I'm against it.
You worried about a loss in school spirit if you saw the games going downtown?
Well, it's going to be off campus then, and why not? I mean, people have to go somewhere else. It's like playing in Bloomington, you know? Who'd want to go see them at the Met?
I don't think they should play in the dome.
Why not?
Well, it takes it off campus, and that's part of the reason that we have a football team is for the students, you know? And then they'd have to drive over there and stuff. It really hurts the people that don't live on campus and stuff.
I'd rather continue on playing on campus.
How come?
Because I feel it's more part of the university.
I'd like to see them move to the dome myself.
Why?
I think you'd have more room there, and it's nicer seating, probably. Well, I haven't been there myself.
You worried at all about a loss of school spirit with their going downtown?
Not really. I think you'll get a lot of people going down there.
So you don't see that as a problem?
No, it's not that far away.
I don't think we should move to the dome because there's the brick house. With the Gophers in the brick house, there's a lot of school spirit here on campus on Saturday mornings. With the Gophers in the dome, there just wouldn't be. And so I think we should keep the Gophers in the brick house.
Most students I spoke with today seem to feel that we should continue playing football in our own stadium. The Board of Regents recently decided that we would stay at the stadium on campus because moving downtown would prove too expensive. However, this decision was not final, and the possibility of our moving downtown to play in the dome will get greater with every year as Memorial Stadium continues to deteriorate. This has been Cindy Winter for Newswatch.
The Radisson Hotel is closing down today after being a landmark in Minneapolis for 72 years. The Golden Strings Violin Show will play its last public performance this evening. The Golden Strings have played to more than 2 million people since 1963. The hotel will be demolished next spring. A new $75 million Radisson is going to open up in early 1985 in the same location. Yesterday's storm in the Midwest claimed the lives of at least 5 people. The storm left up to 11 inches of wet, heavy snow in southern Minnesota. One radar expert says the snow ranked in the top 10 of the worst storms in Minnesota. In the Twin Cities, the storm dumped over 10 inches. NSP says about 100,000 customers remain without electricity, but hope to finish making repairs by this weekend. Currently, it's 26 degrees. It will be mostly cloudy today with a chance of light snow. Decreasing cloudiness tonight with a low of about 14 degrees. Partly cloudy Saturday and the highs in the upper 20s. Currently, it's 26 degrees.
Robert Redford has been caught in the act of speeding. The famous Hollywood movie actor and director was nabbed by county police in Westchester County in upstate New York. Police say he was driving 73 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. If convicted of this moving violation, Redford will face higher insurance rates and bad press with the energy conservation crowd.
We don't know about something old or something new, but the bride had something borrowed, and now the husband is blue. Shortly after their wedding, Marina O'Brien borrowed $1,000 from her husband. O'Brien took the money she said was for their honeymoon trousseau and left London for Madrid. The couple is now divorced. She ended up richer, he wound up poorer, until death they did part. Yesterday, it was the American Cancer Society's Great American Smokeout, and the society estimates that 18 million smokers will put their cigarettes aside. After last year's smokeout, it is estimated that more than 1 million quit for good. Those of you that did quit for good may find it easier to find a job. A study done by Seattle University was found that if all else is equal, managers would choose a non-smoker over a smoker.
Well, it looks like you lost your job. All that money.
This has been Newswatch with Cheryl Peterson and Kevin Chandler. Have a good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is Eyewitness Newswatch, and I'm Tim Corwin. The Labor Department reported that the unemployment went up last month, November, to 8.4% of the workforce. That's the highest level since the 1974-75 recession. The unemployment rate has been rising steadily since this summer, which is in line with the general economic slowdown we've been all experiencing. However, the November jobless rate was down for nearly every category of worker. One exception, the rate for blacks held at over 15.5%. In Marion, Iowa, officials are taking steps to discourage Christmas tree thieves. The Lynn County Conservation Department normally sells trees from one of their parks at about $1 a foot, but the Conservation Department figures that their offer won't be good enough for some people, so this year they're going to spray the trees left standing out in their park with animal repellent. A spokesman says that the spray doesn't smell too bad outdoors, but when the thieves get the sprayed trees inside their warm homes, get out the gas masks. Today we're going to our Newswatch correspondent Cindy Winter for a story about compassion. Cindy, tell us about this compassionate holiday season story.
Well, President Reagan has set a shining example for us all once again. President Reagan today ordered the release of former Maryland Governor Marvin Mandel.
Now, Cindy, is Marvin related to the famous rock guitar player Harvey Mandel, baby batter, snake,
Now that I'm not sure about. You'd have to talk to Marv about that. I'm not too sure. But the man has been released.
You know, those rock stars get in trouble with the law a lot,
Yeah, I've heard that. He's been released 3 months before he was scheduled for release, all due to the kindness of Reagan's heart. The man will have to remain in jail until December 20th, though, at night. He's free during the day, but he cannot run around at night until the 20th, so he'll have a lot to celebrate at Christmas time.
And I believe that's the first day of Hanukkah. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if those jive or not, but it is a fact that President Reagan has once again used his presidential power to release someone convicted on bribery charges and release him 3 months before he was due to come out.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome, Tim.
Okay, now, a Christmas gift of sorts has been given to the Sacramento Library System. An elderly widow who died there last month left her entire fortune of over $200,000 in a trust fund for the use of the library. According to the wishes of Bernice Horn Moore, they are to use this money to buy suspense novels for fellow mystery fans she left behind. Now we're going to our other Newswatch correspondent, Kevin Chandler, for a story about funny money. Kevin, tell us about this funny money that we've been hearing about lately.
Tim, there's been a lot of funny money, you might say, floating around Duluth, and it's apparently migrated north now. It's counterfeit money, and it has now been discovered in a Virginia bank, that's Virginia, Minnesota.
What denominations is this, Kevin?
These are crisp $100 bills.
Kevin, can you tell the audience who is the president on the $100 bill?
I didn't catch that question, Tim.
Kevin, could you tell us who is the president on the $100 bill, just to make sure that people know that it's not counterfeit, it's the real thing? Who is on the $100 bill?
I believe that's Benjamin Franklin, Tim, and these bills are pretty much
Benjamin
identical.
Franklin, that's good for me.
Thank you,
Kevin.
But
looking for the ideal Christmas gift for the connoisseur who has everything? Sure you are. I know you. I always do. A New York importer, Chateau Duvin, has just the thing. As advertised this week in a full-page ad in the New York Times, they're trying to sell some cognac. They have 1,200 bottles of 100-year-old vintage stuff bottled in France. The cognac is being sold as a work of art primarily to investors. The price, a mere $3,750. That's a whole lot of Thunderbird. And now we're going to show you and present to you our chief engineer. He's a man that's responsible for this technical production here, and it's Jim Goodman, our chief engineer. Jim is responsible for the shading of the cameras, getting the color just right, and as you can see, my green shirt, Jim made sure it's just perfect. He does a great job. Jim, we'd like to thank you, Newswatch here, Eyewitness Newswatch. We'd like to personally extend a hand and thank you for doing just a wonderful job on our productions every time. We can't do it without your essential. Thank you, Jim. Ever wonder what Hawaiians do for Christmas trees? I sure do. Simple, they wait for the boat to arrive. The privately owned SS Kauai made port in Honolulu Wednesday with about 104,000 Douglas firs from the Pacific Northwest. They're packed in refrigerator containers until they inspect them for these little tiny bugs. But once that's over with, they sell them to the retailers who sell them for up to $25 to the public. And now we'd like to go to a special feature we've been working on hard all term. And this is to let you, the viewer, know how we make our documentary, is this a documentary? No. This is a Newswatch newscast. We make it here every 3 times a week.